Hello everyone and welcome back to the study, and today one of the things I've been thinking about is the fact that AI probably shouldn't be a mass consumer product. Now what do I mean by this? Well, I've been thinking about the way AI models actually have been working recently, and one of the things that Elon Musk said in an interview with The Economist is that he sees AI bringing in an era of abundance. Now, that word abundance is very interesting because it has a lot of connotations around it, and one of the things I think we need to think about is the ethics and philosophy that surround the word abundance. Now, we've all seen science fiction and read sci-fi and watched it over the years. If you watch this show, you probably have. And the issue I have with the idea that AI will bring in an age of abundance is the fact that its models are very limited in its worldview and gears you towards a very specific lens. And I think as AI develops, the models are going to get more and more cautious, and in terms of the way humans think, I do not think AI is going to be a sustainable way for us to create the abundance we imagine. And in the interview, they talk about Chinese robots, and the interesting thing about those robots is the Chinese are not restricting the way the models think, which is why the robots are able to fight, as the interview said. And you've seen videos of Chinese robots fighting. It starts to become a bit of a spectator sport, and I think that's one of the ways AI will develop. I think it's going to be used for sports and games as a way to encourage more participation in sports and games. I think that's one of the way AI is going to develop. We might even replace boxers one day with robots. That will be a very interesting time, because if they're having success in China with it, that's going to be developed everywhere else, because America is going to want to compete with China, and they're essentially going to become mainstream. So I think one of the big developments we will see with AI and robotics is AI fighting, but within constraints and rules. But again, that's the thing, is AI has constraints and rules because the people behind it have developed it in a way to make it as safe as possible for the consumer, which makes it basically useless, because most people have a thought process, they have their own imaginations, and the simple act of putting pen to paper helps people think far more exponentially than it otherwise would. And I think this is the trouble with AI. I think that AI is being used pretty much like a cheat sheet for life. And I think that's one of the issues we are going to be facing with AI, is people using it to replace their own thinking. And I've seen this in the job market recently. People have been using AI to think about CVs. You apply for a job, and it's more than likely that an AI reader has read it and rejected you from the job, and because there was no person at the end of it, then the right applicants, who are probably more qualified for the job than the people getting through, have been getting through for interviews. And it's going to cause a lot of problems, this way of thinking about AI being a cheat sheet for your own thinking. And this is something even I've done over the past year, is I've used AI a lot, and it's why I've come to this conclusion. Oh yes, I started going on about the idea of abundance. Now, abundance itself is a very interesting concept, because it suggests that humans as a civilization, well, Western civilization in particular, because that's what Elon Musk refers to in the Economist interview, will reach a stage where the capitalist mode of production is producing so much that people just consume to a point where we no longer need to worry about scarcity. Now, think about scarcity, not scarcity, matter of pronunciation. Think about scarcity is that humans have been in survival mode for as long as we have been around. We cannot fathom the idea of having abundance, and this way of developing a society of abundance needs to become a way for us to be able to discuss the ethics and philosophy around what a society of abundance should be, because we can get there. Machine learning is going to become a bigger thing, I think, even though it's not the primary mode of AI usage right now. But I think it will become that, because the way these AI companies are focused on profits, I think, is unsustainable. And I think AI down the line is going to become more open source, it's going to become more radical, and I think there's going to come a time, possibly in the next 15 years, where people think, why am I giving that company money when we can just run our own models, build our own inputs, and basically create so much competition in the AI space that it basically turns into a massive crapshoot, and we basically see the entire market in open hostility. But that's where we're going to have the most development, and I think we've seen that before. Look at social media, the social media wars of the 2010s, Facebook, Twitter. Those battles helped develop social media to where it is now, and that same method is going to become the model which AI develops, and I think we're just in the early stages of that right now, because we have companies like Anthropic, the OpenAI Foundation, a few other competitors who aren't quite on the same scale as Anthropic and OpenAI. But I think there's going to come a time where someone develops something that says, you know what, we've got these models, well, I'm going to open source it and stick it on the internet. We're going to have freedom to do whatever we want with these models, and that's going to come to the point where this idea that Elon Musk is talking about, abundance, basically means nothing, because we haven't come up with the ethics and philosophy of what abundance should be in a world where AI is open sourced and developed in a way where anybody has access to whatever information they need to build stuff. And I think that's going to be one of the big challenges in the next 15 years. Let's see how much they've been restricting and making these AI models practically, I think the word is mundane, but mundane enough that the consumer thinks this is amazing, but actually introducing the thought process of what we can think about. And I think this is going to become one of the defining ways forward in the AI race, because we've seen on social media people saying, oh, stop using AI, but if AI becomes open source, when you're going to have a competitive race, even more so than between the current AI companies, which are all basically arms of the American state, let's not forget, because the Americans funded this, and Elon Musk has basically openly admitted this himself, because the American government was worried about Chinese advances in this technology before they were, so they decided to set up OpenAI as the counter to it. But yeah, that's a bit of a rant on AI that I had in my mind. So if you've watched this and stuck with it all the way through, comment below, let me know what your thoughts are, and yeah, thank you for joining me for this little rant.